Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we'll be covering Weapons, released a bit ago at the time of this recording. I'm trying to catch up on a lot with reviews and then my other channel as well, and just content in general. But here it is now, Weapons. Before I go forward, this will contain spoilers, so here's your warning. If you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend you go watch it, but not if you're looking for a horror movie. I don't think it serves as that. It just serves as a generally good movie. This movie follows the concept of 17 kids that went missing at 2:17 in the morning. They all got up, and I'm sure you've been seeing all the videos and stuff of them running, which is actually a reference to a specific painting, and that ties into, or picture, and that ties into one of the ways to interpret it that I'll get into in the movie in a bit when I get to the meanings and stuff. Starting with Justine, she's the teacher of the classroom of the 17 kids that went missing. Only 2 survivors, 17 kids went missing. One way to interpret the movie of the 217. And it is her and Alex, who are both some of the main characters in this sort of, I want to say group, but none of them are really correlated besides the overarching event. But as we find out about her character through Marcus, who is the principal, she has a very odd relationship with her students, and that is why all the adults and the parents are so quick to jump on her for the kids going missing, and she takes it upon herself to find out what happened to them. Like, she'll hug them and she'll drive them home when they don't have a ride and stuff, which obviously is meant in kindness, but not professional for a teacher to be doing to 3rd graders. I think the concept for this is really scary, like in concept, but I think that could be said about a lot in this movie, but the execution of it doesn't really make it scary, if that makes sense. Like, if I was the teacher and I came into my classroom for a bunch of 3rd graders and all of them but one kid were missing, I'd be pretty freaked out, because they don't have like a ditch day or anything, and like just all of them disappearing at once and then finding out that they all went missing around the same time and stuff. Creepy in concept. The movie follows a kind of disconnected editing process, which I really like for this movie. I think it works well. The guy next to me, not so much. He started complaining to his girlfriend that he was watching the same thing over and over again, which I don't even think he was watching the movie. He had some interesting takes. But Justine leaves the school council meeting thing to go home, and then she's really paranoid, and I thought the movie would lean into this more, but it doesn't lean into her being paranoid enough. It has the one little sequence right when she gets home, and then witch is written on her car, which I would have loved to see more of her being paranoid throughout the town and kind of losing her sanity a bit. I think would have been interesting to watch. Her character is interesting because she's kind of like the over-caring. I kind of get the vibe that, well, not get the vibe, it's explained subtly that she doesn't have someone and that she can't, like, she doesn't have a kid to take care of, and she kind of brings it out on these kids to kind of be that warm presence for them in the classroom. She's like, she just wants to be that teacher that's there for all her kids, which is understandable, and it's good in spirit for this movie. I really liked that aspect for the character in this movie. I just wish they would have leaned into more of her being paranoid and kind of creeped out as she travels around the town trying to figure this stuff out. Archer is the second point of view that we follow in the movie, who is the father of one of the missing kids in the classroom for Matthew, who I'm not too familiar on it, but I've seen some people referencing the 217 to Matthew's in the Bible or something, since he's the only kid that's given a name besides Alex. So people are kind of making the connection with that, and the 217 I've seen as well. But Archer's a lot more of, compared to Justine, he's a lot more of a closed off, very manly man guy. Like, he works construction. As we see during the dream sequence, he really has trouble like expressing his emotion to his son. And on top of that, during the dream sequence, we also get the rifle that pops up above the house, which is a specific version of a rifle that is most commonly used during the, so I don't get the video taken down or anything, for school intrusions, for school casualties, whatever you want to call it. It's the one's most specifically used, and 217 is the amount of people that voted in reference to banning, or in reference to this rifle that was above the house during the dream sequence, which is a way to, yet another way to interpret the movie. But the movie doesn't touch on that ever again past the dream sequence, which really sucks. And also, quick little fun fact, I didn't mention Justine, but she's played by Julia Garner, who had Fantastic Four also. But Josh Brolin plays Archer, and originally was supposed to be Pedro Pascal, which I'm glad that the role went to Josh Brolin in the end because of scheduling conflict and stuff. I don't think I would have enjoyed the character as much if it was Pedro Pascal. Next, we cover Paul, who is one of the police officers, and he's used to sort of get a perspective on how corrupt the police officers are and kind of shows their lack of interest in this case. And he has the direct connection to Justine. He cheats on his wife with Justine, and they kind of seem to be like a situationship thing that happened before he had gotten married and stuff, because he's very on edge, and so is Justine. They're kind of weird about their relationship. But we get a view, like I said, of the police station and how little interest that the police actually care about finding out what happened to these kids. They're not really seeming to be looking into the case as much as they should be, which obviously is a problem, but it's just a message for the world. But other than that, we don't really get anything crazy important in this part of his character. It just kind of lays the groundwork of him being a police officer, and as well as the town not caring as much as they should be for this stuff. We then cut to James, who is a druggie, and he's important because he ends up ultimately finding the house with the kids, being Alex's house. They're in the basement, but we don't know why, and that's for the next part. But James is important so that we can actually find out where the kids are, so that Paul could find them, so that the police car is left outside, so that everyone could come and meet at the house at the end of the movie, and all of the point of views intertwine. So they're two very important perspectives. It just doesn't seem like it in the smaller picture. Also, little jump back to Paul's part. I'm kind of intertwining these two. He orders a Coke at the bar, and at the beginning of the movie, there's the can of Coke. I don't know if that's intentional, if it's just brand placement or what, but I pretty sure that Paul was the one that interrogated Gladys and Alex and stuff, and kind of asked him questions about what was going on with the class. We then cut to Marcus, who I was going to say isn't really important also, but he is. Everyone, even if they have a little role, they are important in this, which I really like the way that Zach Kreger handled the different perspectives and stuff. Because Gladys shows up to stand in for Alex's parents, since they get controlled by Gladys. And I really like the way that it all just connects. Like, it all just very fluently connects, and I think that was really, really good. I love the disconnected editing work, because we pick up with Marcus on the phone call with Justine, and she's trying to talk to him and like, oh, like she's like, just let me see and stuff. He's like, no, and then eventually runs into Gladys. He has a very small segment in the movie, but it introduces us to Gladys officially. We see her in all the flashbacks from all the other characters, or not flashbacks, but all the other sequences for the other characters, and it's revealed how she's controlling these people with her powers. She uses witchcraft, which this is where the movie kind of loses me, because I don't like how it jumps from weird like eeriness straight to witchcraft, which it makes sense, but I just wish there could be something different that people would figure out to do with the movies or with their stories for this kind of stuff. They all just jump straight to witchcraft. Longlegs had a similar problem. Longlegs had a similar problem last year, although I enjoyed that as well, but has a similar problem where it just jumps to witchcraft. And we get Marcus under control, I guess, and as well as something to note is he's watching with his husband, boyfriend. I don't really remember off the top of my head right now. It's been a bit since I watched it now, a couple days. They're watching on their TV. They're watching something about cordyceps, and as well as we're going to get into with the next perspective during class, Justine is teaching about parasites. So I think that's an important thing to take note of. But we don't have specifically the reason to why until this next part. Alex's perspective is mainly just used to tie everything together in a neat bow, but if the movie was scary to you before, this is also kind of where it loses most of its horror aspect. It gets really silly a little bit. Not silly entirely, but it has some... This has the most silly moments, I guess, out of anything included in the movie. I also just want to take a second to acknowledge the fact that the actor for Alex, Kerry Christopher, is really great in his role. One of the better child actors to note, that I would say. But it follows the whole story of the movie and then overlaps and connects each of the other perspectives, leading to this finale where we learn more about Gladys's character, who people say is like a 400-year-old witch and stuff, which I don't know about that. People also want there to be a prequel about her, and it's in the talks at the studio already, which I also don't want that. But I'd say this nicely ties it all together. We have Paul, James, and both of Alex's parents all under control in the house, as well as the kids in the basement. Archer and Justine go into the house to investigate, finally making all of our characters finally connected and in the same place at once. But like I said, we learn more about Gladys here. We find out nobody in Alex's family really knows who she is anymore. They haven't seen her in years. So it's really up in the air on who she is. She's really mysterious. And I like how the movie keeps it that way. Also, during this sequence when James is attacking Archer, the actor for that did it all practically. He actually got thrown around by Josh Brolin, which I think is just another fun fact. And ultimately, the movie ends with Gladys being ripped apart because Alex uses the same witchcraft with the sticks, which people are also making videos about and jokes. I'm sure you've seen them if you've watched the movie. But ultimately kills Gladys, rips her apart limb from limb, literally, which is a great sequence. It's just really silly. Getting into the pros and cons here, I think the suspenseful parts were really good, but I don't think the actual horror aspect was at the peak of its game. I think there was definitely more to be desired from a horror standpoint, especially rolling into this with a con, is it was promoted as a very horror-based thing, and it was like, oh, like this is gonna be a big thing, and obviously everyone on social media always talks about it, like, oh, this is the horror movie. Like when Terrifier came out, everyone's like, oh, people are passing out in this theater, and Longlegs, people are like, oh, this is really scary, and they say it about every horror movie, and it really was just baby food. If you watch scary movies, this is nothing, but overall as a movie, I would recommend really checking it out. I think it's really fun to watch. I think the casting is really good in this movie as well. All the performances, none of them are like, oh, like, I didn't like that. Like, they're all really good. I really liked all of them, especially Josh Brolin and Kerry Christopher. They're easily standouts for me in this movie. Obviously a child actor, and then I think that Josh Brolin just did really good in his role as a more serious, which he always is. He's a good actor, but we just don't see him too much. I think some of the concepts are really great in this as well, like all the metaphors and stuff about the meanings and anything that the movie could be tied into, but I don't really enjoy how they're handled because the movie kind of changes what it wants to be a couple times. And the director, also tying into a con, Zach Krager, doesn't want to acknowledge anything as like a true way to see it. He, like, all the interviews I've seen, they'll ask him, they're like, what was the gun above the house for? He's like, oh, I thought it looked cool. And it just really feels like he's not confident in what he created. It feels like he has no idea what he created. And from someone that's really into this and also has made some stuff of their own, I just don't think that's a good perspective to have. And it really leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Because I'm like, it really doesn't feel like he likes what he made or knows what he made. He just made it. And that makes me not like the movie as much if the director didn't have a goal for what he wanted the movie to be. The disconnected editing, I like the different perspectives and such. It's really fun to watch, and it's really nice to watch it all connect. And I also should have mentioned this during the Alex perspective. The soundtrack in this movie is really, really good. I love for James's part, it's very kit bashed and like very whack, and then it's very also like ethereal at points too. And just overall, I just want to give props to the soundtrack. It's really good in this movie. But overall, this does leave me with giving Weapons a 3.5 to a 4. I'm kind of bouncing between them, which I know I've been bouncing between ratings on a lot of stuff I've been reviewing recently, but really I can't decide on if I really liked it or if it kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth because of how much it jumps around. It leaves a bit to be desired in the horror aspect, but overall I think everything else about the movie is really good. So I would recommend watching this. Just don't go into it thinking it'll be the next big scary movie that you'll be watching. And as always, thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of the movie? If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, literally anything. You'll be able to get a hold of me. I'm most active on Twitter. So if you need / want to get a hold of me, it can be on there. I have the link tree in my bios on everything. It's connected to everything. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.